All right, let's go ahead and begin. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this session on life after the uni. We may do a series of these, actually, if there's enough interest. Very pleased to have a couple of folks here that have experienced life outside of the uni. And for those of us that are new to EVE and have joined the uni to get familiar with the game, which is, of course, our primary mission, we always wonder what it's like out there, maybe somewhere out in the wide world of New Eden, wondering what it's like to not be in the uni and whether or not that's a good thing to do. So we brought some people here to talk about their experience, answer any questions that you might have. A few ground rules before we get started. First of all, a brief introduction. My name is Neville Smith. I am the Director of Education here at EVE University. I'll be moderating and fielding questions from you and passing those on to our panelists who will introduce themselves shortly. We are using the lecture.e-uni chat channel in-game. That's lecture instead of our usual class.e-uni chat channel. So if you have any questions, please type them into the lecture.e-uni chat channel. And feel free to start entering those now if you wish. If you have any specific questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in. I'd like to let this be a real kind of open session. This is not going to be your typical lecture or class, so purely going to be reacting to the questions that you have. But I would like to kick it off first with some introductions. Aqua, if you could introduce yourself and give us a little idea of your background, that'd be helpful, and then we'll flip it over to you, Joe.
Okay, well, I'm Aquadictus. I'm currently Vice Director of Communications in FZ Drop Bears. We're basically, somewhat a split off of the uni. Most of them, a lot of the members came from the original D6 department within E-UNI. I've been a manager within the D6 division for quite a while. We were doing living in wormholes, just basically finding out what we can and just bring it back to the membership. Also, during my time in the uni, I got up to Vice Admiral within the ILN. I was doing a large part of the training of logistics, and not basically the repping stuff, but moving stuff. Even before that, I've done RO duties, so that's basically where I started.
Thanks, Aqua. And Joe Lost, who actually kind of precipitated this whole class with a post that he put in the forums about what life is like outside the uni and why the uni is a good place to get oriented. Joe, tell us a little bit about your background and experience in EVE so far.
I think the primary point is that I am, unlike a lot of people you'll probably meet in various classes you get here, as you get guest speakers on, and you get probably famous people within the game on. I'm a fairly ordinary gamer, just like most people here. Someone recently posted up a "How old are you?" and in fact, I did a very similar post a while back. So I am a 42-year-old gamer who enjoys playing this in a casual way. I've enjoyed it now for 2.5 years. What I like about it is you just get on game, a whole bunch of good people, hang around with them, get to know them. It's good fun. You get out there, you don't take it too seriously, and yet obviously you don't piss your courtmates off by not taking it not too seriously in that respect. I joined the E-UNI within 2 weeks of coming into the game. I'd have to say that to some extent I probably would not have lasted very long without the E-UNI. It is and was a fantastic base springboard, if you like, from which to get out there. In fact, I was going to leave after about a year, and Aqua, as it happens, pinged me and said, "Why don't you come and join us in the wormholes?" So I joined them out there, and the adventure has gone from there. We could spend several hours describing to you sort of everything that we've done. The post that I posted described it in a very brief fashion, sort of what we've done out there since. And I thought I'd just offer the opportunity. You may get it all the time, you may not, but it seems so far from the reaction that it's not the case. We'd offer people the opportunity within the E-UNI to, have people to ask questions to that aren't necessarily in the E-UNI. That is to say, not directors. And although people within the E-UNI who are teaching you, who are running the thing, are extremely experienced, they've recently probably been spending a lot of time within the E-UNI and haven't necessarily been focusing on, all the politics and everything that's going on out there in the absolutely vast world that is Eve.
Thanks, Joe. I do have a question to kind of kick things off for each of you. And Aqua, if you could answer this first and then turn it over to Joe. When do you know that you're ready to leave the uni? Both of you started in Eve University. When did you know? What criteria would you use to say it's time to try your fortunes elsewhere in New Eden?
Well, for everyone, there's basically different criterias for determining when you will leave E-UNI. Some people will never reach that point, but the basic guideline I would use is if the rules and regulations which are within E-UNI are limiting your gameplay too much, it will be time for you to find something else.
I'll carry that on. In my case, actually, that was exactly the point. I got to the stage where I'd spent a year in the E-UNI. I think the fact that it was a year, I came off my E-UNI birthday, if you like, was a bit of a trigger as well. And I was getting to a point where I could go out and make my own ISK if I wanted to. It wasn't necessarily going to be a massive, I wasn't going to suddenly be a billionaire or anything. But I had learnt a lot of stuff in the uni that I could have stayed longer probably and learnt more. But I felt that I just had to get out there and just stop living in the very cushioned world that the uni is. And I don't mean that badly. I mean that very positively. It was definitely the right place to be to do all that learning. But at some point you've got to get out of the cushion and take some of the knocks.
A follow-up question for both of you. I heard both of you say that when the rules of E-UNI, our policies, feel restrictive and you feel like you're ready to move beyond. Of course, those rules are set up for the protection of new players primarily, to make sure that they're not going to be doing something that's kind of silly. So I do think there is a place for it. But when you do feel that kind of restriction, it's in fact, I think the uni's unusual in that we do encourage people to move on when they begin to feel restricted by our rules. Obviously, that applied to both of you. Joe, you also mentioned something as well, and that is making ISK. I mean, don't you have to be able to have enough skills and ability and understanding of the game, enough resources to be able to earn an income, or is that really not a requirement to move on and be successful elsewhere in Eve?
I don't think it's an absolute requirement. I think I could have probably left earlier. I go back to my little cushion analogy. I enjoyed the little cushion, and I enjoyed actually the people that I was flying with very often. And I kept testing out new stuff in the E-UNI, and you can spend a lot of time in the E-UNI and keep learning new stuff. So I enjoyed that, but there are also people that I knew, who left. Some of them after a month, although personally I feel that would not give them really the skills necessary to succeed as easily as you would if you stay a little bit longer. I'd say that probably 3 months in the uni for me would be a minimum in order for you to be able to go out. And again, you come back to the ISK point. Yeah, you there are so many different ways of earning ISK. If I wanted to, I could have. I'm a trader. I trade as a job, and I mean, I quickly learned the trading system of Eve, and I could frankly do station trading all day and all night and just keep making money. But I feel that's a bit boring.
Aqua, what do you think? Do you have to be able to generate a sufficient amount of ISK, and what would that be before you move on and elsewhere in New Eden?
Actually, the amount of ISK you are being needed to generate really depends on what profession you are going to take. For example, if you're going to plunge into PvP, you need to be able to replace the ships you are losing. And if you're going into, for example, research and production, you need a base amount of ISK, but from that base amount of ISK, you're going to make profit, and you're able to expand your, well, quote-unquote, empire of R&D stuff. So, yeah, it depends on what route you are going to take after you, well, left the uni.
Can I just field this question from Earl O'Satrin?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Earl asks, would you recommend joining another corp or founding your own corporation? He founded his own to dodge, the taxes during war. What do you think about that, Joe?
I set up an alt, and I have a separate alt corporation. I really call it more of a holding corporation, to be honest. I get it. I appreciate all the taxes. I mean, I wouldn't say I really founded a corporation. It's the weakest form of creating a corporation. I got the skills enough to be able to start the corporation so that I could put my people in it if necessary, and that was about it. I would say, and maybe other people say otherwise, from my experience is, get yourself a little bit of experience of running an Eve Corp first. You could do that by starting your own, but you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. You could try within the E-UNI to take on some roles and get sort of access to a certain level of management. But I suppose, if you really want to learn how to run a corp, you have to go through what I would classify as the very dull process of A, reading a hell of a lot about it, and B, sort of testing it out in your own corp, because it's unlikely that you will have access to the upper echelons of a corp and the corp control structure early on in your life in Eve.
Aqua, you were one of the founders of eDrop, so you really did kind of form your own corp. What do you think? Form your own corp or join another?
If you have a group of people with a mission statement, basically, for example, you want to do research, you want to do wormholes, and you want to do it within your own group, then yes, I'd say get yourself your own corp, because you have a group of people who like to work together. If you don't have that group yet, I suggest you join another corp which does the things which interest you.
Yeah, sorry, I focused on the control aspect. Sorry, in that respect, entirely with Aqua on that side, just for the enjoyment of it. Definitely joining another corp for a while can be a very good thing to get you to experience a lot of stuff outside, and again, have your protection of corp mates and the company of corp mates as well, which is an essential part of Eve. It really is.
Yeah, it's basically, if you have people around you who you like to play with, Eve will be much more fun than just flying around solo, just doing missions, doing some exploration and making ISK. You can just start making billions and billions of ISK, but have no communication with anyone in Eve, basically. And in the end, you'll just start run away screaming because, you don't like it anymore.
I have a question for both of you. After you left the uni, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered about life outside of the uni? What was the thing that you weren't expecting, or the most surprising thing that you encountered?
I couldn't shoot unistas anymore.
Well, you could. But
No, we set ourselves up as plus. I think we're plus 10 to the uni, aren't we? And but it wasn't that. I'd say that for me, certainly, it was the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, within the bounds of the corporation that we formed and that at the beginning we created, i.e. Drop. And we kept all the rules of the uni, by the way. So it's not that we suddenly just went out there and became pirates and we're up against everybody. But it was the freedom. The freedom was both enjoyable and surprising because we hadn't been used to it. And again, I think your comment earlier, and I'll definitely back that up, is we all understood why the rules existed within the uni. And we agreed that they needed to exist within the uni. So we're not against the rules at all. But when you get out and suddenly if you want to bait somebody with a can, you can. Well, that's different and can be fun.
Aqua, other than shooting, no longer being able to shoot unistas, what did you find to be the most surprising thing about life outside of the uni?
The headaches of running a corporation, basically. I basically already was manager within Division 6 at the point, but running your own corporation is different, really different from just managing a group of people. You need to keep your eyes on more and more stuff. And you have people sometimes even more complaining than before, or that's really all that kind of stuff. It really smacks you in the face.
We have a good question here from Fulzad. One of the things that he struggled with most when we started playing was what to do. He wonders what your respective goals are for in-game now that you're outside of the uni. Joe, you want to take that first?
I don't know how long you've been in the game, Fulzad. I'm one of these people that got into the game and enjoyed it because of its complexity. Just the sheer level and depth. And we all bitch about CCP, but the depth of this game is astounding. It's incredible. I said to you earlier that I'm a trader, so I looked into the buying and selling stuff, the trading side of things, the depth of market, the way it's set up, the way the trading system is set up, and it's just one aspect. And it's astounding. I sometimes show it to friends of mine. They're going like, "Oh, you play a computer game," and then I show them the depth of this game. Ignore the screen, ignore the battles. Just look at the depth of it. It's incredible and amazing. And my enjoyment out of it, and what my goal is, just to discover more and to discover more stuff to do. So a particular goal, I want to experience a lot of what the game has to offer. I enjoy it in that respect.
Aqua, what are your in-game goals these days?
Well, it's more or like the same as Joe's. Just find out as much as possible about as much as possible. I've been one of those people, basically an information sponge. I just pick up everything from what I can within EVE and try to get myself familiarized with it as far as possible.
Earl of Saturn asks another question. It was something that was in the back of my mind as well, and that is, and you've with eDrop, of course, you went into wormholes. You've been in nullsec space. I mean, places that are considered much more dangerous in EVE, certainly for new unis who are new to the game, who only know what Empire space is like. Do you find, now that you are operating in these more dangerous spaces, that you're more likely to be attacked by others? And how do you deal with that additional level of potential conflict? Joe, what do you think about that?
No, not at all. No, when you're in the uni, you imagine the uni as this sort of focused entity, and it is from the perspective of respect in the game. That's no question. But it's not, hey, this guy was in the uni, let's get him. People look at your history, and they're looking at your history just to see how long you stayed in corporations, what type of corporations you were in order to evaluate you as an opponent, if they are an opponent, or if they are people who you are looking to be recruited into, or are looking to recruit you. They evaluate you on that as well. So I don't think it. In fact, I don't even think it definitely didn't have any particular impact on how much we were attacked as a group, or there wasn't any social stigma at all. In fact, if anything, there was a positive social aspect to having been in the uni.
Aqua, did you find that your experience in the uni made you more or less of a target, or do you not see any difference?
I think it's really, for me, it depends on the fleet doctrines I like to fly. I like to do small gangs, wormhole stuff, dropping in on people, shooting them up, and basically they always respond. So it's a bit hard to determine whether I would be attacked more or less while I'm outside of the uni now.
Do you find that, did you find that moving into some of these more dangerous spaces like nullsec and wormholes, was that intimidating for you at first? I know, Aqua, you were involved in the D6 and getting involved, figuring out what wormholes are all about, but is that something that you think someone contemplating leaving the uni should be aware of, and what advice would you give them for perhaps moving out of Empire space into more dangerous areas?
If you want to move out of Empire space, the basic thing I can tell you, which is one of the nicest quotes from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't panic.
Okay, good.
Yeah, definitely.
Bring your towel.
Definitely, exactly, and bring your towel. I'd say that, again, it depends on how much experience and how much you're prepared to go into strange places. In my case, I came into D6, as I said, after a year in the uni. And of course, at that time, wormholes were reasonably new. It was this entirely new area, unexplored. D6 was the exploration of wormholes group within the uni. And when I got out there, it was very different. Life in a wormhole is very different. You have to, I think I commented on this in the forum, is you have to get used to working in a different way in order to be successful in a wormhole. Then 0-0 is, again, a different environment. I would say that certainly having been in the wormhole for, I can't remember how long I was there, 5 months, maybe 6 months, definitely did a lot to prepare me for going into 0-0. There was I wasn't particularly strange. I just had to make sure that my overview was correctly set, and I had to get... I was used to, by then I was pretty used to looking at local anyway. It's just in wormhole space, people don't show up until they speak, so... my advice is get out there and try this stuff.
Joe, you had mentioned in your forum post, and this relates to a question that Dax Draconis has asked here. You touched on how you felt about whether or not your time in the uni had prepared you and given you the skills that you needed for life after the uni. And could you recap your comments there and maybe elaborate a little further? Did the uni help you and give you the skills you needed to be successful out in New Eden later?
Yeah. I mean, there's no if, but, or where about it. My time, as I said when we started this, my time in the E-UNI was the entire preparation for what happens afterwards. There's just, I mean, it's simple things. It's understanding how to treat local, how to talk in local. When you're in low-sec, what do you and what don't you do? When someone flips your can, how do you react? And it's all the rules as well, and all the structure of Eve itself, and the rules that apply. In fact, we were having this debate in Uni Channel the other day. If you are not in a corp but part of a fleet, and everyone else in the fleet is in another corp, what happens if your can is flipped? Does that person become red flashy to everybody? And it was questions like this, on a multiple scale, that you get so much experience from people who spend a vast amount of their time in this game, and who have spent a hell of a lot longer than I have, and I've been around for 2.5 years, playing this game, and understand the rules, regulations, the subtleties, even in communication with people, within the game, within the communication with groups, how to, as I said earlier, how to react, how to treat people, how not to treat people. There's an aspect of politics that you get, even though, again, you're cushioned somewhat by the uni, heavily actually. But yeah, I'm sorry, as I said, I can go on forever, but the bottom line is, no question, absolutely, would I recommend the E-UNI to every single player that steps into Eve? Completely. You will get so much more enjoyment out of your game by spending time in this corporation for a while and picking all this information up.
I have a follow-up question to that, which I'd like to hear Aqua give an answer to first, and that is, Aqua, was there anything that the Uni did not prepare you for? What new kinds of experiences did the Uni not give you the kind of background, or what would you recommend that that people who are leaving the Uni, what should they be prepared for?
Yeah, it's a bit hard to say, to clearly determine what you aren't prepared for, because everyone has a different learning curve. Everyone learns something different within the uni. For me, basically, because I've been, I think, over 1.5 years in the uni, one of the only things I hadn't learned was 0-0 warfare, 0-0 soft stuff, all that kind of things. But basically, everyone learns something different at their own pace. For example, person A is 3 months in uni, but has more time, so learns twice as much than person B, who's also been 3 months in uni. So you'll have to personally see for yourself what you've learned already, and all the options which are still out there, which you don't know anything about yet.
Joe, question to you.
Yeah, I think it's also a matter of the last bit that Aqua spoke about was it's also a matter of your dedication and time to the game. What I enjoy about this game is that I have a real life. I have a family and children, and I can go out and spend a lot of time with them. I don't have to be in the game all the time. Training still goes on, and progression still goes on. I can set up trading orders, courier contracts, and all of this, and I don't have to be in the game all the time. So I said that, for instance, I thought I was ready to leave the uni after about a year. As I said, there are probably people out there, and this is exactly what Aqua was saying, who they eat, sleep, and shit this game, and happy for them, and that's the way they want to play it, and they're probably going to pick up a lot more information and learning about the game and in the E-UNI, in a much shorter space of time than I did, because I wasn't so full on in the game. Now, at the end of the day, that was just my pace of playing, and I enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it today. I have no envy for somebody who, has learned in 3 months what it took me 6 months to learn. I'm happy for them. That's what they want to play. Great. My way is want to play. Great. Everybody's happy. We all play a game together. We're all in a big sandbox at the end of the day. So it's one of the fantastic advantages of this game.
We have a question here from Xanthius Crude. Any general advice on how to find a good corp after leaving? And he has a specific interest in a nullsec corporation with an emphasis on PvP and being part of some of the large sovereignty wars that are going on. Aqua, do you have any advice for Xanthius on what he should look for?
Workfare section on the Uni forums. There's a lot of 0-0 corporations who either focus on PvP or have a combined interest in PvP and PvE within 0-0. Take a look there, and you'll surely find one of the corps who poke your interests for yourself. And once you find one, you can try and ask around within the Uni if they know the general ways the corporation is being run, and you can that way determine whether that corporation would be a perfect fit for you or partially a fit for you if you want to later on continue to a more dedicated corp or a less dedicated corp.
Yeah, I just want to add, use the tools available to you. The internet, it's a wonderful source. Get out there. I'm sure you'll find the corporation and or the alliance that they're part of's website, and you can learn a hell of a lot from that.
We have a follow-on question here from Dax Draconis. How has your former membership in the Uni affected your relationships with players after you left the Uni? I mean, how would you classify your relationship with people you used to play with for a long time in the Uni after you left and moved on to other things? Joe, let's hear your answer to that first, and then Aqua.
No change at all, to be honest. We left as a group from the Uni anyway, so we all knew each other already from the Uni, which was good. And then again, it's sort of like an alumnus, if you like. Although sometimes you have alumni you don't want to meet, but you didn't want to meet them in the Uni. You didn't like them in the E-UNI. It's like being part of any sort of university. If you're really a university or organization like that, in terms of that, you'll see people in space afterwards, and you'll give them a wave if you like them, and a big hi, and you'll chat, and other people who you never really liked in the Uni anyway. Well, it's like real life. You don't want to speak to them, really.
Aqua, what do you say?
I'm kind of with Joe on this one. If you had good relationships with some people within the Uni, they will continue after you've left the Uni itself. So, yeah. Hard to say a little.
I'll add one point about the alumnus point, is that certainly, as I commented earlier, if you've been in the E-UNI for a certain amount of time at least, I found that you'll get at least people going, oh, you were in the E-UNI as well, from other people who were in the E-UNI, either from people who have come afterwards and joined you, or from people who went ahead of you and who you are joining. There will definitely be a common bond.
Joe, you're touching on a question that Dax just asked, which is, how is, in your mind, how is Uni membership perceived in the wider world of EVE? I mean, when you're interacting with people who haven't been part of the Uni and they see that you are an alumnus of EVE University, does that give you a certain amount of prestige? And what kind of reactions do you get from people out there in EVE?
I think it varies a little bit with people who do or do not know what EVE University is. Most people do, and I would say that depending on how much time you've spent in the E-UNI, you'll certainly get the respect that they will assume that you know a certain amount about how to transact with Eve, if you like, how to deal with Eve, how to, you'll certainly have a decent basic level of knowledge, perhaps slightly even more advanced, again, depending on time in the E-UNI, as to how to fit a ship, what you need to be, how to be trading, how not to get scammed, most likely. They'll still try. Scammers will always try, but I think that the E-UNI comes with a certain tag, if you like, and the tag, in my opinion, is very positive. Those people that have a negative tag for it tended to be people who either weren't in the E-UNI themselves, therefore they don't really know what it's about, so they'd rather belittle it, or people who were in the E-UNI but were, rather than using it for its purpose, were disruptive, corp thieves and that sort of thing. People who just weren't right, if you like.
Aqua, I have a question for you. Are there any members of eDrop that are not ex-Uni alumni?
Actually, there's, I think now about a quarter of eDrop members haven't been in the Uni.
Is your experience, has that been when you recruit people who haven't had Eve University experience and background, do you have to train them more? Do they, or were you looking for certain kinds of capabilities there, or do you find that it was just easier or harder with the Uni members or members of eDrop?
Basically, you have to train them differently. If you have people who've been in the Uni and what basic training they've had, and what structure of training they've had. People who haven't been in the Uni basically haven't had that structure, or haven't had any structure, or completely have a different structure of training or learning stuff. So you'll have to either adapt to that or have them adapt to your way of teaching.
Follow-up question for you, Aqua. We know that eDrop started in wormholes and it has a lot of experience in wormholes. It's like Tian asks, what is life like in wormholes?
It's hard to describe if you haven't lived it yourself. There's several ways you can experience wormholes. One of the options is basically living in the wormhole by setting up a pause, structures, that kind of stuff. Where you can do PvE, PvP, or a combination of it. The other option is living in Empire or 00 and occasionally dropping into a wormhole, either to PvE or PvP. So depends on your experience with either of them. How you frame life within wormholes. I've done both of them, and they are very different from each other. If you live inside a wormhole, you have to be, you will become extremely paranoid in the end. I already was paranoid, but it's getting even worse. And if you don't live in a wormhole yourself, but just drop in, you are somewhat more relaxed inside because you or don't know what the quote-quote dangers fully of the wormholes are and what can happen, or you just are able to immediately jump out again and get to your safe Empire or 00 location.
Joe, do you have any other perspectives you'd like to add? What's life like in wormholes?
I think that it's very important to have an organized group if you're going to stay in the wormhole. Definitely. I think that if we hadn't been a structured, organized group in the wormhole, it would have been a pretty big disaster. And you've also got to, you got to get out of the wormhole. You got to, if you live in it. I won't really talk about coming into them from the outside, and there's just sort of, day trips, if you like, because that's just, it's not. It doesn't really give you a feel of being in a wormhole and living there. So when you're in it, you really need, as I said, within your group to be structured and to definitely offer people the possibility of getting out and about and doing stuff beyond just what you're doing in order to feed your corporation, so to speak. And the part about being organized, again, is that, and obviously all of you who are in the uni, you'll be used to this, is have a structured and very clear training goal that everybody has to go through to get to. Because by getting to these levels, you will be able to enjoy the wormhole a lot more because you'll be able to help each other. And I think that is something that wormholes do for you. They create tight-knit groups, because if you're not a tight-knit group, you're not going to survive.
Joe, you're touching on something I wanted to explore, and that is in the uni where you've got more than 1,600 members, there's always something going on. There's always fleets going on. We have classes, we have events. People can participate as much or as little as they want inside those different kinds of options that are available in the uni. But I perceive that working with or being in a smaller corp, like eDrop, certainly you don't have 1,600 members, you're going to be more dependent on each other. Do you find that to be the case? And how does just the fact that you have a smaller number of members, how does that compare to what it's like in the uni with hundreds and hundreds of members?
I actually have to check with Aqua. Aqua, how many are we actual players, would you say?
Actual players would be about 2/3, about 70% of the entire corp, so that's up to about 60 or 70 now.
Yeah. So, 60 or 70, when we were in the uni, I don't know how it is now, although you've got a lot of people, how many people do you get, up and running online, barring when you're in the middle of a war or people are station spinning and just want to get into a fleet? It's probably a decent size of what I was certainly used to seeing people online in the uni when I was there. Actually, online is the wrong word, but together in a group doing something together. I would say that the D6 group that we had, which, if I'm not mistaken, was maybe 20, 25 of us, Aqua, max?
35.
Okay, apologies, 35 in the end. It creates a really good, tight-knit group. When I was towards the end of my period at the uni and whilst I was in D6, the uni had just started setting up battle groups. And I think that was a very good thing in terms of getting people to work together, assigning tasks to the battle groups, assigning patrol duties. There was structure in it again. And we then, again, we have stayed reasonably well together since then. Some people have gone off to do a certain amount of other stuff. But even when they have, we've still kept very much in touch with members who have gone, elsewhere. And we all still talk about the group that we were when we were in D6 and how closely we worked together. So coming back to what I was saying about the wormholes and being an organized group, it can be a really positive thing if a few of you want to get together and start a wormhole op. But be aware that unlike the uni itself, where you can just come on and do whatever you like, you guys have to agree that you're going to do this together and really work together on this if somebody wants to do that.
Aqua, with a smaller group relative to the uni, do you have more stringent requirements for members in your corp? Do they have to be online at certain times or participate in certain activities, or are you pretty loose like it is in the uni?
It really depends on the location where you live. If you are a empire-based corporation, you generally have less strict rules compared to a 00 corporation. When we were in the wormhole, we've lived in Empire for a while too, in low-sec. In the wormhole, we didn't also have very strict requirements. It basically was, let's see who's online and start running some stuff. After then moving to Empire for a while, it was basically just go do some stuff. We'll schedule some fleets, go blow up everything we see, for example, except the blues. And when we went into 00, it went more strict. We had to participate in Corp Alliance CTAs, all kinds of that kind of stuff.
CTA is call to arms, by the way.
A couple of questions here that kind of relate to the same thing, and given that you are a pretty tight-knit group, do you have certain requirements as to where people live and what time they're online, and only recruit people from certain parts of the world? And also, how do you coordinate your group? I mean, what kind of communications do you have with the corporation? Aqua, why don't you answer that first, and then Joe, let's give you your perspective.
Well, we don't have very strict time requirements. During the recruitment interview, we basically always ask what kind of play times people have. If it's below certain amounts, then at times we basically don't recruitment, because they won't be able to experience the full length of what the Corp has to offer. When we were in 00, we did have requirements for residency. We were basically we are living in MQ. That's pure blind, and people would have to basically set up a base there and live in 00 basically. Get your ISK out of there, or have an old run in Empire, get your ISK. But yeah, you had to live in our location where the Alliance also is.
Joe, what's your perspective? Do you think that you're going to find after you leave the uni, organizations like eDrop, are they going to be focused on certain geographies and smaller, closer-knit groups? What's your perception?
The variety is massive. You can find any corporation for what you want to do. I have to say that, and I don't say that with because it's us necessarily, but my experience from outside and being in a couple of alliances in 00 was relative to the discipline that we learned and we're used to from the E-UNI, and then within D6. A lot of corporations are very disappointing in their lack of a discipline. It's all. I'm not saying we should all hang around and salute each other all the time and be like in an army, but the balance of let's go out and have fun and just do stuff, and hey, fly drunk, great. Fly stoned, great. Not that I'm advocating drugs for all the kids out there, but when it comes down to an organized combat or something like that, you need discipline, definitely. And again, some of the uni training gives you that. It gives you that basis. And this is where you notice in corporations outside who have not had a large level of training, or do not have a training program in place, or a very, shall we say, lackadaisical one, is the lack of structure and organization, and it can be infuriating flying with these people.
You're touching on something, Joe, I wanted to explore as well, and that is some of the feedback I've gotten from other people who have left the uni and go on to nullsec and other corporations. Their feedback back to us has been, it's amazing how people don't know how to behave with a certain degree of discipline. You said it yourself. They don't know how to talk on comms effectively. They don't know how to organize and act as a unit in a squad or a fleet. They don't know, basically how to work together in teams to achieve a goal or objective, and it's been very frustrating. In your experience after leaving the uni, both Joe and Aqua, do you find that most players that you're encountering don't have that kind of discipline and you have to teach it to them, or is that something that is unique to E graduate? I should say uni graduate.
They have a different kind of discipline. The discipline level within which is taught within the uni has some sort of level where you learn how to basically communicate, run stuff, etc. But other people who start within other corporations get a different type of discipline trained towards them. They do know how to communicate on comms, but they have learned to do it differently than people in the uni have learned it. So it needs to be somewhat a midpoint between the multiple types of discipline which have been brought within to the corporation, where you have to start off and create your own.
Joe, what's your go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm not suggesting from my earlier comment that there isn't discipline out there. And there, exactly as Aqua said, that people haven't learned a different type of discipline or a different type of way of working together, which sometimes can be very successful. And in fact, I would say that there are a lot of corps out there that are very successful and aren't necessarily formed of a whole bunch of people who are ex-unistas. You will, what's UA? Aqua. The PvP corp, the Agony Unleashed. Agony Unleashed, sorry, AU. Agony Unleashed is an example of, it's not the uni, obviously. You don't have to have been at the uni to go in there and learn the PvP with them. But certainly by going there, you will learn a lot of discipline. Many corps will not take people without a certain level of SP. Not just because the SP means that you have the skills necessary, but it also implies a certain time within EVE to have learnt many of the skills that are needed.
Very good. I asked this question earlier, but maybe you've gotten a chance to think about it a little bit more. What are some of the surprises or things you didn't expect after you left the uni? Was there anything else that you think that uni should be sure to prepare for in order to be able to survive in New Eden after they leave the uni?
Hey, Gibson's here.
Gibson, thanks for joining us.
I don't think he's in channel, but he certainly just came online. Beyond, I don't know, Dax, I saw you ask this question on the screen. We answered this a little bit earlier in terms of, I don't know if you were listening, but it was basically that for me it was the ability to just go out and do anything I wanted to. What has really surprised me, and I suppose that's a purely personal perspective, is how disorganized and inefficient the trading market is in EVE. Anybody who knows how to trade will just, as I was commenting earlier, just so easily make ISK in EVE.
Aqua, anything else that surprised you after you left the uni that you think would be worth sharing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something differently.
Well, one thing that may have changed, Aqua, is that you were known for your fine singing voice as a fleet commander in the uni. Do you still do that?
Sorry, what?
I do have a fine singing voice, Joe. You just don't appreciate it.
I'm sorry, people. I'm not laughing at Aqua. It's something that's just happened here. We love Aqua singing.
No, just have to be in a completely weird mood to do it.
Or be stuck. Well, you're not doing gate camps like for 5 days. Like last time I heard you sing when you were in the uni, we were on a gate camp for days and days, and you were just trying to entertain us. Or do you do those kinds of things after you've left the uni?
Yeah, it's different kind of entertainment basically. But yeah, if we're doing long operations, then weird stuff can happen. Let's put it that way.
Guys, I'm getting a lot of sorry, guys and girls. I always forget that. Don't forget that about 5% of the EU population, maybe slightly more, is female. I'm getting a lot of questions from the same people, and that's fine in itself. But are there any other people out there who have questions? Please don't hesitate. I'm happy to do this kind of thing again, but this is the kind of opportunity I certainly remember when I was at the E-UNI that we didn't get that much. We tended to get sort of celebrities on there, not just, if you like, using the pun, average Joes, telling you what it's like out there. So please do carry on asking. A quick answer to back of what I was saying about trading. Dax, this is, my life is trading personally as real life. And so you've got to know how to trade to understand some of the stuff that I understand when I look at the EVE market. I look at the way people buy and sell, the way they price things, and it comes from real life as to understanding how it works. It's fascinating for me relative to that real life, but I can't teach you that in, shall we say, in 2 moments of tips, unfortunately, and that's not me trying to be difficult. I'm very happy to consider holding if you like, a slightly more advanced trading class, maybe in future. I'll discuss that with Neville.
Hey, Joe, I do have a question for you. I mean, trading in places other than Empire space, do you find the markets to be more volatile, more variances, and therefore more opportunities for profit, or do you find them to be less volatile?
It actually it's very natural. If you flick up the map and you look at the concentration of people and where they are, and you do this for a period of about a week. Every day you come in, just pay attention to where people are, what they're doing, and listen out for events. It's exactly like in real life. If an event or if something, a war is going on, or if mostly wars are going on, then there are things that are going to be needed in that area. So what's the area that it's all happening in? Where are people staging? So you'll definitely get an impact in these areas. The difference between 0-0, low sec, and high sec. Well, obviously, there's a difference. The difference being that some people out in 0-0, they're out in the boonies somewhere, way away from places like Jita. And although there tends to be, as we have and many other corporations have, a very organized structure when it comes to getting stuff into 0-0 for your corp. There is also an aspect where you want to buy stuff yourself, and certainly we as a group, and I'd have to get Aqua in on this or Dinsdale a bit more, but we as a group manufactured stuff, created stuff, mined for corp, very much the way people do in the uni, and sold stuff in 0-0 certainly at slightly higher prices than you'll get in Jita, because people are fundamentally lazy, so they're prepared to pay more. But again, I come back to the market efficiency. Obviously, there comes a point where everybody's found whatever that niche is that you found to start with, and it's no longer a niche, and the prices start coming down.
Very good. Aqua, I do have a question for you. As one of the leaders of eDrop, do you find that politics, or inter-corp, inter-alliance politics, is something you now have to contend with more frequently, less frequently, not frequently at all? Is it something that's different than what your life was like in the uni?
Well, when I was in the uni, I'd led all the cleaning politics to Erdolf and diplomacy, basically. Now I'm the vice director of communications, so I do quite a lot of chatting with people. While in the 0-0 alliance, it's very basic. It's mainly done on the alliance level, so you either have to step up and try and become alliance diplomats to basically do something. As a solo corporation, at your location where you live, you will need to have chats with people who also live there to either get agreements, put them read, etc. So yeah, there's quite some more you'll have to do.
Aqua, I know that Joe makes his money primarily through trading, but I know you're a PvP, PvE kind of player. Question here from Xanthius Crude: is solo PvE viable for making ISK in nullsec? Is that a good way to make money out in 0-0?
With the recent changes to the anomalies, it really depends in what region you are. The anomaly nerve basically was the lower the true security space of the true security status of the space is, the better the anomalies are you get from the space. The region we live in basically has the worst true security space, true security status. So yeah, for running anomalies, it can be viable, but unless you get in better space, you can also just start running level 4s in high sec. Unless you want to try your money at exploration and running complexes, getting faction loot out of that, then yeah, solo PvE can be quite a quite nice way to make ISK in null security space. If you aren't in an alliance with your own basically location, your own sovereign space, then the most likely way to generate ISK in 0-0 is either running the plexus, maybe doing some manufacturing and invention, but not too much more.
We're good. We've been going on for a little bit more than an hour here. First of all, I want to say welcome, Gibson. Glad you could drop in.
I apologize for being late, but I've had massive computer problems and I've got a major display challenge going on. But please carry on. I'll do what I can.
Yeah, nope. Gibbs, don't be sorry. We don't have to look at your face.
Thanks for that.
Okay. I do have a question for you, Gibson. I mean, you were in the uni, and then you left the uni, and now you've returned. So you probably have more experience than anybody here about what it's like. What are the differences? What are the differences that people can expect to see when they are in the uni and they leave and go somewhere else? And how has it been like for you to come back?
Wow, two great questions. I think the major differences that one will see when they move on from the uni and into other endeavors, be it with low-sec, null-sec, 0-0 corps, somebody that's out there fighting, or someone who's in maybe wormhole pockets, is that there is a a very wide variety of experience, training, and just general camaraderie out there. The uni is a very special place where people learn to work together, to act together, and to be cohesive. And there are a very set way of doing things, standards for doing things, and methodologies that are proven and have been proven throughout a long term to be effective. Those things that you take with you when you go are not going to be necessarily evident to other people. Things very simply like control on communications and being succinct in commands, in the way the commands are given, the way that defensive gate camps or offensive gate camps are set up, are not necessarily known outside of the uni. And your discipline that you have will serve you infinitely better than the lack of discipline that many others bring, and it'll be very evident to you who has that discipline and who doesn't, and how much that discipline means. What does it mean to me coming back and forth, and how has it been coming back and forth? There's a lot to be learned out there. The uni is a wonderful start. It's a place where you can get basic knowledge, the things that will keep you alive, and I think even more importantly, it gives you a taste of many of the different aspects of what EVE can be about and what the different places can be about. You have a wonderful opportunity to talk to people who are recruiting back through the university, whether it be wonderful folks like eDrop that I've had the absolute pleasure to be involved with, or Agony or T-Grads. They're all great groups, and they have their own very particular purposes in mind. When you do that, you're going to hone experiences, and you're going to move toward different specialties, whether it be, again, in wormhole space, in 0-0, in PvP or in PvE, care bearing, or maybe out there doing some hardcore fighting. But I think the university is a wonderful place to learn what the opportunities are that are out there, and then to search out a place that fits where your style and your desires are matched with what that group does. I think one of the pleasures that I have in coming back, to round it out for your questions, is that I got a lot of good experience, and the guys that I was flying with, first of all, not only gave me the opportunity to learn things, to lead, to participate, to try, to fail, and to succeed, but also to be able to bring that back, to learn from them, and then to come back to the university and have guys that are hungry to get some of that information, to learn from that, and to help the basics as we go through, just the tackling the E-War and the damage kind of stuff, the different application of it, how it fits, and where it's best used. I think that's the joy that I get coming back into uni. People that are hungry for that knowledge, want to listen to it, and are willing to employ it and engage it.
That's good, Gibson. Thank you so much. We've been going on here for more than an hour here, and I'd like to wrap this up in the next 5 or 7 minutes. So if there's any last questions, go ahead and type them into the lecture.euni chat channel, and we'll see if we can get to them. While we're waiting for those, any final advice? Joe, you started this with your excellent post in the forums. Any advice for anyone who's thinking about maybe moving on from the uni onto elsewhere in New Eden? What would you make sure that people understood that they need to know to be successful?
I think a lot of it's been said already, and in the time that we've been here, a lot of the comments we made about being in a good group. Aqua's point and Aqua, I think both Aqua and my points about the fact, although emphasized by Aqua, that if you go out there and just try to play this game as a solo player, good luck to you if you're very capable of that, but I have yet to see someone that really can, that doesn't go spare and eventually either give up on the game or give up on life. I'm exaggerating, but I think that, again, Gibson's comments just now about finding a niche, finding a group that suits your play style is extremely important. Don't go and listen to people saying, "Oh, you've got to be in this corp, or you've got to be in this alliance, or just for the sake of it." Ignore that. It's a game. You want to play it. You want to enjoy it. At the end of the day, that is what we're all doing here. We all take it reasonably seriously, some more than others. But I like to believe that all of you, certainly like me, are doing this as a game, as a form of catharsis. Not taking it, hopefully, not taking it to the level where it becomes your life, but rather just something to have a bit of fun. And if you want to have a bit of fun, think about it. Yeah, hobby. Thank you, Dex. Think about it very carefully. What is it you want to experience? And remember, you can change corporations. Maybe you start off by going out and doing PvP, and you get into that, and you learn a lot, and you get a good feel for it. But after a while, in fact, you get a bit bored, and you decide, actually, I want to go and try something else. Well, change corporations. Go out and join a corporation that does a mining corporation. Find out if that's what you want to do. A lot of the experiences you have in the E-UNI will lead you down the path that you probably want to be heading in any case, especially if you stay a little bit longer and you get a better feel for it. And try out that path. And a comment I made in my post is, one of the wonderful things about having been in the E-UNI, and don't forget it, and Gibson to some extent is an example of that, is that you can always back to the E-UNI if you feel A, you haven't learnt enough, or B, you enjoyed the environment. In actual fact, you'd think that what's going on out there is shit, and you actually enjoyed your time so much you'd like to come back and maybe help others in their quest to find out what it is that they enjoy in EVE. I think that's certainly what I would like to, and always intended when I was in the E-UNI, at someday to come back and bring a little bit of that experience, a little bit of help to new players in EVE as to what's out there. And remember that all of you are the future of the game, if you like. And that's one of the also primary reasons for the existence of the E-UNI to start with, was the more people who understand the game will enjoy the game, and therefore that's part of what makes the E-UNI great. It's making all of our games experience that much better because more people are going to be longer players.
Excellent. Frankly, I find that very, very comforting and absolutely on target. So, excellent words of advice. Aqua, any final words of advice for anyone who's considering leaving the uni for the wilder parts of New Eden?
Well, as I said it before, there's two very easy words for it. Don't panic.
I know where you tell us.
Well, if you want to go out there, it looks really overwhelming, but if you look at it from a very overviewing perspective, you will have it, in the end, you'll have it easier than when you just focus. Oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. Oh, this is going wrong. What should I do? What should I do? No, it's going wrong, and eventually you'll just mess up completely because you'll miss the overview.
Very good. Gibson, you gave us a great answer earlier. Any general final advice that you would give someone who's considering leaving the uni for other parts of EVE?
Yep, a couple of pieces. First of all, do it. You need to get away from the university and experience things beyond here because there's a lot more out there than what the university does. This is not designed to be a place that you spend the rest of your career as an individual who is in the student form. There are wonderful opportunities here for leaders, for teachers, and I'm not trying to discourage that, but at least get out there and try. When you do, Don't be afraid to lose ships. You're going to get blown up. If you're doing it right, you're going to lose ships. You're going to make more ISK, and you're going to buy bigger and shinier toys. Don't marry your hardware, folks. Expect to lose it, learn from doing it, and move on. The other thing that I would suggest that you have to do is decide what you're going to be, where you're going to go, and have a training plan that fits it. Don't be all across the board. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Like I tell the guys that are fitting their ships in the uni, fit to the ship's strength. You have to do what the thing is made to do, and you need to carry that on in your skill plan. If you're training to do something, concentrate in that and get good at it. Don't spread yourself all across the board. Find something to do that you can be good at. I think you're going to be a lot happier when you fly those shinies. You're going to be a lot more effective at it. And more than anything else, you got to have fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to enjoy the people that you're with and the method and what they're doing all behind it. If you do that, you're going to play for a long time. You're going to have a good time at it. You're going to make a lot of friends. Guys like Joe and Aqua and Orestes and all the other guys I know in eDrop, they'll be my friends forever. We'll be around for a long, long time. You go to things like FanFest and do other things, and you can get together and you can actually wind up meeting folks face to face. It gets that good with it. So get out there and try and do it.
Gibson, also excellent advice. Thank you. Gibson, Aqua, Joe, thanks so much for having this session with us today and sharing your experience. Very much appreciated. As I said, we may be doing sessions like this if there's enough demand for it. If people want to hear about other folks who've left the uni and like to know what it's like out there, please let us know. Just drop me an email and let me know what you thought about the session, and we may schedule some more of them. And Joe, also, thank you for your excellent post in our forums, which kind of precipitated and kicked this whole thing off. Very much appreciated. And thanks, everyone, for attending today. With that, we're going to close off and say good luck and fly safe.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much for coming. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I would definitely suggest doing more of this stuff in terms of with people out there who are willing to come back and give you guys some time to help you for the future, if you like.